Hello, welcome to Liz Rocks and Stuff. It's time for What's in My Tumbler episode 39, and this is take 2 because I forgot to turn my microphone on the first time. Anyway, starting off with the Bahia Agates. These are coming out of stage 4 this week. They are done. They did shine up very nicely. They did exactly what I would expect, but I gotta say, not my favorite rock. I don't like the color. I don't really like how they look. They were very easy to tumble, so if you're looking for something that's really easy to get started with, these were good. They started out already pretty round, so they didn't take a whole lot of time. I'm just not a fan of how they look, and I couldn't tell you why. They're just not my favorite thing. So these are first going to go through a soap cycle, burnishing cycle, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to get these put back into the tumbler, and we're going to put in roughly 3 tablespoons of borax with the water, and then we'll see what these look like once they come out. So we're just going to get this lid all put back on and get them going. I burnished for a few hours this week, a little longer, like a couple hours longer than I typically do, but not overnight or anything. I just go for about 8 hours. Basically, I do these in the morning when I get up, and then when I'm done with my work day, I take them out. Because I work from home. Anyway, get these taken out. The burnish cycle looks good. So we're going to get them dried off. So get the barrel out of the way. And because there's a lot of different size rocks mixed in here, along with some tumbling media, what I actually end up doing is I'm just going to put down a towel and I'm going to dump out everything. And then I'm going to pull out the bigger rocks, so all of the Bahia Agates plus some of the larger rocks that I added in to fill up the barrel a little bit more, which there's only about 4 or 5 of those. I'm going to go ahead and pull those out. And then off camera, I went through and pulled out all of the tumbling media, and this is what I was left with. I then separated those out into larger chips and smaller chips. I use those in like planters and stuff. So I'll do a video of what I do with my rocks because I get asked that a lot. But anyway, here's the close-ups of the Bahia Agates. You can see these are dry. That's a druzy pocket right there where there were crystals in it at one point. So I don't know if it's still called a druzy pocket if the crystals are gone. But anyway. This is what they all looked like. Like I said, they got shiny. They were very easy to do. They do have a lot of pits and pockets. I feel like that's sort of a feature of these, but they're not my favorite. I don't really like the look of them. That's a piece of the cheetah jasper. It's a very dark piece, but you can see there are spots on it. And then that's polychrome jasper. I think that's the last of my polychrome jasper. Quartz, that's a moonstone, and I'm not sure what that black one at the top is. It came from somewhere. Anyway, those are done. So now, Obsidian stage 4. This is actually batch 1. So I am going to be a little bit mean, and I'm not going to show the final results of the Obsidian until next week when batch 2 is done. So I'm going to show all of my Obsidian in one go, even though I tumbled them in 2 batches. So I am going to dry off a couple of pieces before they go into the soap cycle so you can see sort of what they look like, but I'm not going to show the final of anything until next week. So look forward to that. But this is a piece of snowflake obsidian. I'm going to dry it off, and then I'm going to throw it, and then I'm going to pick it up again, and you can see that it is very shiny. It turned out really nicely. And then I'm going to do a piece of the midnight web obsidian. Just for informational, once these dried off thoroughly, I did see a little bit of bruising on the edges of the midnight web obsidian. Basically, bruising is sort of micro fractures on the edges of the rocks. So the only way to fix that is to send them back to stage 1 and start over. I'm not going to do that. They still are shiny. They still look good. They just have some bruising on the edges, and you'll see that next week. But I'm going to also try and get a nice close-up of why it's called Midnight Web Obsidian, because it looks really, it's got like fine white lines through it. They're really hard to see in person, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a good shot on the camera, but I'm going to try. So anyway, batch 1 is going into the soap cycle, and then they will be finished, but I'm going to do batch 2. So these also went through a burnishing cycle, 3 tablespoons of borax, It looks to me like some water came out of this barrel. I haven't checked to see if it leaked or not. I need to do that, but I need to check that to see if I have this barrel is leaking. I suspect another one is, and I'll show you how I deal with that, but that's with the Catdog. So now that these are out of the burnishing cycle, I'm just going to pull these off, put them on a towel, and set them off to the side because I am going to then start batch 2. So pulling out all of the big pieces and making sure I got all of that obsidian. So then here's my cup of obsidian that I've been sort of keeping in storage. I'm going to gently put these into the second barrel, or second into the barrel, not the second barrel. Put in all of the cushioning that I have, and then it's too much water in here that because they were being stored with a lot of water. So I'm going to pour out some of that excess water. And then we are going to do 3 tablespoons of stage 4 grit and a tablespoon of borax. So if you remember last week, I was saying, can I still get shiny rocks if I only put 3 tablespoons of polish in? Yes, you can. They still became the Bahia Agates and the Obsidian, both shined up perfectly fine with just 3 tablespoons of polish and a single tablespoon of borax. So put those back on, screw that down, and this is batch 2 off into stage 4, so they will be done next week. Also, we now have Catdog Season 2, Stage 3. These are going into Stage 4 this week. If you're looking, see that slurry looks a little bit chunky to me. And I believe this is the same barrel that the amber was in that also had a bit of a chunky slurry to it that looked really weird. So essentially what that could indicate is that the seal on the barrel is not watertight and airtight. So some of the water is either coming out and evaporating or otherwise escaping the barrel. And so I'm ending up with not enough water. There is a fix for that, and I will show you how to do that in a minute. But first, we are going to get these into the soap cycle. Now that they're all rinsed off, we're going to put them back in the barrel. 3 tablespoons of borax, just like everything else, and let them tumble and get clean for a few hours. And I'm contemplating, by the way, finding some music to put in my videos so that when I am dumping grits into the barrels, I don't feel like I need to fill in empty space, because it's not very exciting, and there's not a whole lot to talk about here because I do the same thing on every barrel. But anyway, see that just looks chunky, and it looks like the water, there's not all the water in there that I had in there before. So I suspect that my tumbler is not sealing properly. Luckily, I do have extra gaskets that I keep on hand. I got them from either Kingsley North or the Rock Shed. I'm not sure. Both carry them. And I just ordered 2, and I just make sure I always have 2 on hand. Sorting these to make sure nothing is chipped, cracked, broken, in need of not going into the final polish and potentially ruining the whole batch. I'm only checking the big rocks because I don't really care about the little ones. They're going to do what they're going to do because they're tiny little chips. Anyway, so everything looked fine. I didn't see anything I needed to pull out, so we're going to get those put in the barrel, put in the water, and then going into stage 4. So these are going to get 3 tablespoons, again, of the polish, and then a tablespoon of borax. And the borax, in this case, just helps to make the slurry a little stickier and keeps it on there. So I put this on there, and it just slid in a little too easily. It didn't feel like it was getting a good seal. So I have this spare gasket that I had already. So all you do is you just peel that gasket off that lid and then slide the next gasket onto the lid. This was a little bit fiddly. As you can imagine, putting a round object around a round object was not easy, but it didn't take me very long. This took all of maybe about a minute. This is only twice the speed of what it took me, so it didn't take very long. And then when I slid that on there, it had a much tighter fit, and I was much happier with that. So this is now going into stage 4. And looking forward to next week. So Rainbow Tiger is in stage 1. I'm going to go ahead and talk about what I do with this, but then I have a whole thing I want to talk about borax for a minute. Anyway, Rainbow Tiger, this is red, blue, and gold tiger's eye. It comes out this nice red color because of the red tiger's eye. I'm sure when I get rid of the red, it'll be blue. But tiger's eye tends to dye the slurry pretty well. So these are going to go through a soap cycle. No, these don't go through a soap cycle because these are in stage 1. These are just going to get sorted, see if anything is ready for stage 2, and then they are going to get put back into stage 1. So what I want to talk about borax, by the way, is after I do this, I dump my water outside. If you're just dumping slurry, like if I was just dumping this batch, I could just put this anywhere. It's fine. It might make your grass a little green or a little gray, but it's not going to hurt your grass. If you're dumping anything that has borax in it, you want to make sure you're putting that where you don't want to grow plants, because borax will kill plants and it will keep things from growing. It's like salt. It basically salts your earth. So don't put it where you want plants. I just dump mine in my rock beds far away from the grass edge. I have a nice big patch where I don't want anything to grow anyway. So that's where I put it. So don't dump this where you want plant life to flourish. Put it where you don't want anything to grow. So I do have some rocks that are ready for stage 2. That's what I've put up in those that cup at the top, which gave me some room in the barrel for more stuff. So I put in the last of my red tiger's eye. Then I'll start adding in blue once other stuff starts coming out. So dump in that cushioning, and then I am going to get water in the cup for the stage 2 ready rocks. Put those where I store all of my rocks, and then water and more stage 1 grit for this batch. So that is 3 tablespoons of grit. And then these are off and ready to go. And then, so we're just going to get this all buttoned up, put it back on the tumbler. So now, Bahia Agates were done, so I have an empty barrel that I need to fill. So what am I going to do in here? I'm just going to apologize. It is not anything that is super exciting. I have some rocks here that I got while we were out and about traveling different places. If I see an interesting rock in a rock bed, I'll grab it. So there's some granite, there's some other things. I mostly don't know what any of these are. That's a pretty stripy rock. I have no idea what it is. Could be, I have no idea. The rest of these are things from other batches that needed to get sent back to stage 1 for various reasons. Either they chipped or they just weren't ready to move on, and the rest of the batch was. So that's what a lot of this stuff is. And then at the very bottom of this cup, I have a very large white rock. I have tumbled this rock in various batches on and off. It's just a really large rock I found in our rock beds outside that was it was white and it was interesting looking, so I decided to see if I could tumble it. And it's turned into a very pretty rock. I just need it to grind down a little bit more before I move it on to stage 2. So I'm putting it into this batch. So this is going to go into stage 1. We have 3 tablespoons of stage 1 grit. And then I'm going to get this buttoned up and give this batch a name, because if I don't name my batches, I don't remember what's in any of them. So what am I going to call this batch that is a huge mix of things I have found out and about, things I have thrown back to stage 1 for various reasons? I'm going to just call this Whatever's Left. It's whatever's left in my batches that couldn't be moved on. So that seemed like a better name than miscellaneous. So these are going into stage 1. Thanks for watching. Next week we'll have the Catdog season 2 and all of the Obsidian done. Can't wait for that. I'll see you next week.